There is nothing that Republicans have rewritten more than Ronald Reagan's record. They have erased from his record the painful fact for them that Ronald Reagan, both as a governor and as a president, raised taxes as well as cut taxes. The real Ronald Reagan raised taxes 11 times as president, but the mythical Ronald Reagan, who Republicans worship, would never do that. Then today, the head of the House Foreign Affairs Subcommittee on the Middle East actually said this.
We have said, as a responsible nation, that the use of chemical weapons is prohibited. It is against the norms of international standards. And to let something like this go unanswered, I think will weaken our resolve. I know that President Reagan would have never let this happen. He would stand up to this.
What president wouldn't stand up to a Middle Eastern dictator using chemical weapons? Well, the real Ronald Reagan wouldn't, and in fact, he didn't. Saddam Hussein used chemical weapons in the 1980s repeatedly, and Ronald Reagan was actually his enabler. In the Washington Post in 2002, Michael Dobbs reported this. A review of thousands of declassified government documents and interviews with former policymakers shows that U.S. intelligence and logistical support played a crucial role in shoring up Iraqi defenses against the human wave attacks by suicidal Iranian troops. The administrations of Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush authorized the sale to Iraq of numerous items that had both military and civilian applications, including poisonous chemicals and deadly biological viruses such as anthrax and bubonic plague. Ronald Reagan didn't just look the other way when Saddam used chemical weapons. He sold the stuff to Saddam. The President of the United States was Saddam Hussein's drug dealer. Michael Dodd reported, according to several former officials, the State and Commerce Departments promoted trade in such items as a way to boost U.S. exports and acquire political leverage over Hussein. Another brilliant Reagan strategy that worked out just beautifully, didn't it? Recently declassified documents also show that during the final days of the Reagan administration, the United States learned through satellite imagery that Iran was about to gain a major strategic advantage by exploiting a hole in Iraqi defenses. U.S. intelligence officials conveyed the location of the Iranian troops to Iraq, fully aware that Hussein's military would attack with chemical weapons, including sarin, a lethal nerve agent. The real Ronald Reagan helped the real Saddam Hussein use chemical weapons, including sarin. In 1991, after the Gulf War, UN weapons inspectors found all kinds of things in Iraq made by U.S. manufacturers, chemicals, missile components, computers, all sorts of stuff. And in 1994, the Senate Banking Committee turned up dozens of biological agents shipped to Iraq during the mid-1980s under license from the Commerce Department, including various strains of anthrax, subsequently identified by the Pentagon as a key component of the Iraqi biological warfare program. The real Ronald Reagan sold anthrax to Saddam Hussein. Anthrax. Donald Rumsfeld, then working for President Reagan, was in Baghdad with Saddam Hussein at a time when Iraq was using chemical weapons on an almost daily basis, according to Michael Dodd's report.
And President Obama, the only reason he's consulting with Congress is he wants to blame somebody for his lack of resolve.
Well,
but we've got to think like President Reagan would do, and he would say chemical use is unacceptable.
Yes. That is what the mythical Ronald Reagan would say. But the real Ronald Reagan said nothing when Saddam Hussein used chemical weapons. Chemical weapons that the real Ronald Reagan actually helped Saddam obtain. That's the real Ronald Reagan.